If you've ever stayed in a cheap roadside motel and felt something off, that uneasy silence, the flicker of a hallway light, the sense that someone was watching, you might have been right, because not all motel guests ever check out. Here are 3 chilling, true encounters from travelers who learned the hard way that some rooms are permanently occupied by the dead. Story 1, the woman in room 217, Amarillo, Texas. It was the summer of 2003 when truck driver Caleb Morris pulled off I-40 just outside Amarillo, Texas. He'd been driving for 15 hours straight and needed a few hours of rest. The motel was small, old, and nearly empty, only 2 cars in the parking lot. The front desk clerk gave him room 217, right at the end of the hall. That night, Caleb was awakened by the sound of soft sobbing. At first, he thought it was coming from the next room, but when he turned down the TV and listened closely, the sound seemed to be inside his room. He turned on the lamp, nothing. The bathroom light flickered. The sobbing grew louder, almost desperate. Then, in the reflection of the TV screen, he saw a woman sitting on the edge of the bed, her hair dripping wet, her clothes tattered. He spun around, she was gone. Only a damp imprint remained on the blanket. The room smelled faintly of mildew and old perfume. The next morning, Caleb mentioned it to the front desk clerk. The clerk went pale and said quietly, "You were in 217? Sir, that room's supposed to stay vacant. A woman drowned herself in the bathtub there in '92. To this day, travelers passing through Amarillo claim that if you drive past that same old motel at night, you can still see the light in room 217 flicker on, even though the power's been shut off for years." Story 2, the child in the hallway in Barstow, California. In 2011, Samantha, a college student, was driving from Phoenix to Los Angeles when fatigue forced her to stop for the night at a rundown roadside motel near Barstow. The neon sign buzzed faintly, "Vacancy." She checked in, room 103, and decided to take a quick shower before bed. As she stepped out of the bathroom, she noticed the TV had turned on by itself, playing a static channel. Then she heard running footsteps in the hallway, light, quick, like a child playing tag. She peeked outside, but the hall was empty. She tried to ignore it and go to bed. Around 3 a.m., Samantha woke up to a gentle knock at her door. When she looked through the peephole, she saw a little boy, no older than 7, standing barefoot, staring straight ahead. "Are you lost?" she called out. No answer. She opened the door just slightly, and there was no one there. Not a sound, not a footprint, nothing. The next morning, the manager asked her how she slept. When she mentioned the boy, he sighed. "You saw Tommy. He was staying here with his mother in 1988. They were found dead in that hallway carbon monoxide leak. We hear him every few weeks." Samantha didn't finish her coffee. She checked out without another word and drove the rest of the way to LA, without stopping once. Story 3, the Mirror Room, Asheville, North Carolina. In 1997, a couple named Rachel and Dean took a weekend road trip through the Blue Ridge Mountains. They booked a night at a charming but isolated roadside inn on the outskirts of Asheville. The owner gave them a key to room 9, an old-fashioned suite with floral wallpaper and an antique mirror covering almost the entire wall. That night, Rachel awoke around 2:30 a.m. to use the bathroom. As she passed the mirror, she froze. She saw herself sleeping in the reflection, but Dean was not beside her in the bed. When she turned to look, Dean was still there, sleeping peacefully. She looked back at the mirror. Now both of them were gone from the reflection entirely. Panicking, she shook Dean awake, but when he sat up, the mirror cracked from corner to corner with a piercing sound. The lights went out. The air turned icy cold. From the shattered glass, a faint whisper emerged, "Get out." They fled the room in their pajamas and spent the rest of the night in their car. The next morning, the owner seemed unsurprised. "You're not the first ones," he said quietly. "That mirror's been there since 1920. The man who built this place, he hung himself right in front of it." The motel closed down a few years later. The building still stands, boarded up and rotting, but locals say if you shine a flashlight through the window of room 9, you can still see your reflection smiling back, even if you're not. So the next time you stop at a roadside motel, remember, check the mirrors, listen to the halls, and if your room feels too cold or too quiet, you might not be alone, because in some motels, the guests never really check out.